welcome to the Orwell Book Prize as part of the Orwell Festival. This debate is about the economy, and the title is The Economy, What's Next? The Orwell Book Prize is...
Mics, yes. They are on the...
So the Orwell Book Prize for Journalism is going to be announced. The long list will be announced next week, and a lot of the authors who are on the long list, you can buy their books here. Also the authors on the panel. Anyway, so the title of the discussion is The Economy, What's Next? And certainly the sort of resigned tone of that question pretty accurately sums up what's been going on in the last couple of years, I think. I mean, although things are stabilising now, with all the world's major economies apparently coming out of recession, since early 2008 we've been in a state of a pretty much constant crisis. And certainly there's been almost nothing like it since, pretty much since the Second World War in terms of the potential for an event to ruin all our lives. And sitting in I'm sorry, I should have said that I'm a journalist for the Financial Times. I write about economics. I've been doing so for a few years. And certainly sitting in the FT's newsroom in New York just after Lehman Brothers collapsed in the autumn of 2008, it was the first time in my life I was truly scared about what was going to happen the next morning. But to put things in perspective, you need to take a long view. And recently I was reading an excellent article by Brian Ward Perkins, a historian of the Roman Empire at Trinity College here in Oxford. And the headline of the piece was, "Call this a recession, at least it isn't the Dark Ages." In the article, Professor Ward Perkins outlined a 700-year depression that followed the collapse of the Roman Empire in the 5th century. And for being a fairly advanced economy, the UK lapsed back, so there's basically very little academic record of that period. The monetary system disappeared. You couldn't get hobnailed boots imported from across Europe, and we even stopped being able to make pots to cook in. Even London, then a large settlement, vanished. And Professor Warburton said in the article, our economy is, of course, in a different league of complexity to that of Roman Britain. Our pottery and metal goods are likely to have been made not only miles away, but on the other side of the globe, while our main medium of exchange is electronic and sometimes based on smoke and mirrors. If our economy ever truly collapses, the consequences will make 5th century Britain seem like a picnic. So hopefully that gives you a sense of where we've been. Now I think we're at a stage where the crisis of the private sector has become a crisis of the public sector, and as borrowing has been racked up during government efforts to avoid economic collapse. And here in the UK, we're probably as aware of that as anybody. And the moment the need to rein in the deficit is still a sort of dominant theme in the political debate. It's unlikely to change anytime soon. So anyway, I'm joined today by four very interesting panelists. To my right is Paul Collier, who's a professor of economics at Oxford University, and also a former director of development research at the World Bank. He's probably best known for his book, The Bottom Billion, a fascinating book about the need to distinguish and focus upon the problems of the world's very poorest countries. And I think he's also got a new book coming out in May called Plunder Planet, which is about the economics of the natural world, and he was saying earlier he thinks it's his best yet. On my right, David Halpern is research director for the Institute of Government. It's a sort of fairly new think tank. He's doing very interesting work on governance and public spending. And prior to that, he was a chief analyst in No. 10 Downing Street's strategy unit. His most recent book is called The Hidden Wealth of Nations, and it's about happiness economics, essentially the importance of focusing government policy on delivering happiness rather than purely GDP growth. On my left is David Smith, who's been economics editor of the Sunday Times for more than 20 years, and is one of the UK's foremost economic commentators. He also has a new book out that I believe came out on Thursday called The Age of Instability, The Global Financial Crisis and What Comes Next, which makes him perfect for this topic. And finally, Linda Yueh is a fellow in economics at St Edmunds Hall here in Oxford and director of the China Growth Centre. as well as a regular economic commentator. Her research focuses on the global financial crisis, economic growth, and the rising emerging economies. And just to start things off, I'm going to get each of the panelists to speak for 5 minutes. I'd like them all to talk about the general topic of where we stand now, what the future holds for us over the next few years, but also how the financial crisis has crowded out, or to what extent it has crowded out some of the important economic policies that were coming to the fore before the crisis, on development and poverty alleviation. So